Hey everyone, it's William Xavier. Thanks for joining and coming back. So I'm really excited for this particular series. I'm going to be doing another travel album, and I know many folks, when I share this in the Creative Memories Virtual Crop November 2025 completed album contest. It was my Europe trip in 2001 with the People to People Student Ambassador Program. It garnered a lot of attention, and folks really liked a lot of the things that I did in that album. So I thought, since the next kind of creative pull that I'm feeling is towards the Caribbean cruise that my family and I went on in March of 2025, I figured it'd be a good idea to kind of just do a series of working through that album, because it's another travel album, and looking at a lot of different things and different techniques that we can do, since folks liked the travel album that I did prior. So what I wanted to kind of kick off today with is kind of looking at organizing, and then we'll do a one-page title page spread for the album. But I wanted to look at just organizing, and everybody has a different way of organizing. Everybody just has different space and restrictions on that space. And so where I usually am working on my album projects is actually in our finished basement on a fold-out card table. So one of my long-term goals is to kind of renovate my home office to be able to have a better space for that. But so I use what I got right now, just like all of us do. We use what we have to work with. So that's why I have to think about organizing things a little bit differently. So a lot of my cardstock and papers tend to be in storage pods, and then my punches, my BMCs are in a BMC carousel through Stamp and Storage, and my border punches are also in the new shelving that they made for the border punches, and those are in there. So I'm also in the process of reorganizing everything I have into more storage through Creative Memories, and a lot of pods and pod inserts right now. And that's okay, because when I eventually get my space to where I want to be, they'll still be usable anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. So what you see in front of you kind of looks like a little bit of a hot mess. That's okay. So it's one way of me working on a project, and I'm just going to walk through how I've organized this coming project, which is a little different from what I typically do. Typically I'm a hot mess express, and I'm just got everything everywhere, and some of that there's method to my madness there, particularly where I have my cardstock and papers on the other side of the room, so it makes me get up from sitting too long to go and get certain things. So that way I'm not sitting too much, because my job as it is already very sedentary. And this hobby can be very sedentary. So I like to try to integrate movement any which way that I can get it in there. So part of that design is intentional, where I put my papers sometimes across the room. I only keep what I'm gonna really work on and use at hand, at arm's length, and then makes me get up and have to go to the other side of the room to get something. And that's intentional. That doesn't work for everybody, and that's okay. But so I'm reorganizing a bit. This project, I decided I would use one of the this is a medium collapsible bag in front of you. And what I've done is that I filled it with all of the kind of essentials or primary things that I know I'm going to be turning to create this album. And that way I can have this big bag off to the side of my table, and it'll be much easier that way. I'll have everything together that I'm looking for, and if there's anything that's an offshoot, I can then get up and go and find it where I need to. So what do I have in here, William? Well, got lots of things. First off, I've got a pod insert in here, and this pod insert, I put my seaside collections as well as the tropical collections that I have, because I felt like they went together fairly well. And I typically use the seaside, coastal shores, beach stuff for Cape Cod trips, and we go to Cape Cod fairly regularly for a summer trip. So I have that there, and then I have a little divider in there for the tropical papers, which I had pulled and put to the front here. So I'll probably reorganize them there. So what I felt, one thing when I do the albums, I've gravitated and honed in that style where I want to really stick to a primary paper collection pack throughout as much as possible. And once in a while, yes, right, I'm going to pull from something else. But I really, when I kept looking back at this trip, Tropic Time, which is from 2023, really the tonals in Tropic Time and the designer paper pack for me, where's that tonal pack? There it is. Really kind of resonated a lot with the feel and vibe that I'm wanting to do with this album. Some of the colors, if anyone's who's been to the Western Caribbean knows, right, it can be very, very vibrant. And so what I liked about Tropic Time is that it finds a nice balance between some of that vibrantness with the turquoise and the corals, along with more of the greens and the darker tones, the darker yellow, goldenish tone. I think really will highlight things very, very nicely. So I've got a couple Tropic Times and the Tone on Tone Tropic Time pack as well. Additionally, while going through things, the Paradise Found, which was an advisor exclusive for those that earned the advisor trip that is going to be happening this coming year, I think. I might have that wrong. But either way, Paradise Found was an advisor only collection, so I was able to get a set of that, which comes with a designer paper pack that has some really, really nice additional prints, like this beach print. I know I'm gonna be using that in there, as well as not just the turquoise, but this really neat checkered tile print that to me really spoke to Mexico, and that was one of the destinations on this cruise. So I'm really excited to be able to tap into this collection as well to augment what I'm going to do. It also came with a designer matte paper pack. So again, some nice tones, matte choices that might be nicer or fit better, because I don't have the Tropic Time matte pack. So it might be a nice little augment there. Also, I pulled our new tropical collection, Tropical Garden, through Creative Memories. So I got that designer paper pack here. I've got that tonal paper pack, because there were some prints in there that really, when I was looking at them, said, this particular destination just kind of resonated to me when I was looking at certain prints. And so I don't know how I'm going to put that together yet. I'll get there when I get there, but I knew I would want to use this collection for some of that as well. I've got some other essentials then. Right? I've got white notebook line designer paper pack. It's useful. I have some old CM stuff as well, because when my mom started, she started way back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So some of the older products pop up here and there in my stuff. These are the natural lined pages that some advisors might be able to help you out with getting if you need some or want some. So once I pick my paper pack that I'm really gonna want to work with primarily throughout the entire album, and I do that because I really like that cohesion, I like that consistency, I like those elements that will ground that album and kind of create a nice golden thread throughout it. Some people will do that with particular punches. They'll just pick a couple punches, and those are the ones they're going to use across the board in the album, and it can be a nice tie-in. I like to use the papers as well, because with this particular album, it's going to be a little challenge to ground it all with punches, because anybody who is very well familiar with the Creative Memories world knows there are quite a lot of punch choices, BMCs, shape punches, and border punches that will go with a Caribbean Cruise album. So I didn't want to just limit myself in my punches. I wanted to be able to have that versatility and pull in what I would want, or what's going to match, what's going to work. So I decided to anchor everything in the papers. Since I also like to challenge myself once in a while, I had never worked with Spargo pages. I usually work with white pages, and I've only kind of just dabbled with some of the pocket top-loading, 12 by 12 top-loading pocket pages. And I've worked with multi-pocket pages. So I thought it would be really, really neat to kind of try something different and work with a different page. It's hard to see in this lighting, but you can see that it's not exactly a smooth cream color. It's kind of like a speckled cream. So at first, when I first looked at Spargo a while back, I was kind of like, I don't know, I like it. I want something nice and smooth and crisp that white is. It's not a crisp, smooth cream. It's kind of speckled. Don't know about that. But when the creative muses just kind of tap your shoulder and say, try this, I've learned to just listen to them. Because when I don't, it's not always the best outcome. So I decided to try the Spargo. I thought it's going to be a really neat way, instead of using and working with white, it's going to be a neat way to use a different neutral tone as a primary background, because that's the other challenge I want to work on in this album, is to use less wallpapering. And for those not familiar with that term, it basically means where you take a standard sheet, just a standard sheet, could be black, natural, white, Spargo, and you cover the entire sheet with your layout and design, where none of this will come through and be seen except on your jeeping on the sides. So I wanted to kind of work around not completely wallpapering pages as well. I wanted this album to kind of have a little bit of that different feel, and pull through some of that Spargo a little bit more and have more white space on pages, because it's not something I usually do. So that's kind of like my little mini challenge. And I have another one that I'll talk about when we get closer to the layout that we'll do. So the other thing that I will do in organizing, and that I did in organizing this, was, along with the papers that I'm picking, I then went and pulled the coordinating cardstock, as well as a couple of neutrals, and a couple that I think will be useful here and there. If you haven't made one yet, I highly suggest creating a swatch of your cardstock and shimmer papers, and getting some labels and printing out some labels. And this was done at a retreat that I went to. Actually, it was a make and take, but you can do this as well, especially if you've got the 3-in-1 bevel tag punch. It's just a 2-inch by 3-inch cut, and then you bevel tag it, and you can stick it on this little hinge ring and put your label on. This is another nice time saver. So instead of me having to go and pull a bunch of things that I think will work when trying to match colors with photos or prints, I've got this swatch to use with this little sample that I can then go around and see, you know what, this will work, that won't work, this is I don't know, and then find, yep, this is the one that I think I'm going to use, and then I'll go get that color. So I pulled my coordinating cardstock, which I have in here as well. as neutrals, right? I have black, I've got my beige, I've got my medium craft. Those are kind of some go-to neutrals. I didn't put white in here, but I have bright white as well that I use. I'm a fan of double matting now, so I like to have some handy bright white cardstock for my photo mats. All right, I got my tangerine, I got my canary, dark green, island waters, dark sea green. I've got the tropical garden cardstock sample pack so that, you know, I can use up a sample pack first before I dip into other, you know, other packs or having to open a new pack. I pulled Meadow and Kiwi, and these are older. Meadow is from 2021 and Kiwi is from 2023. Some additional green tonals that I kind of like, some intermediate greens that I think might work, so I'll have those handy. Additionally, I pulled some of the dual tone white core cardstock. So this was the teal Lagoon Breeze, Calypso Tide, along with Glade Green and what is this, Jungle Green, along with Flamingo Pink and Raspberry Rouge. Not that I use a lot of pinks and purples, but I got that flamingo punch, so I'm probably going to use it in some way, shape, and form in this album. And it might also come through in a layout. I've also got Bright Coral, which is from 2022. So some of these were bringbacks once in a while, you know, flash promo sales that they became available and you could snag a pack or two. So that's where those really came from. I've also got some shimmer paper sampler. I had gotten a couple of sample packs to try out some of the colors, so they are in their own little plastic sleeve here. So I got those handy as well. I've also gotten some of the Molten Lava papers that came out earlier this year, because I think it's one of those things that it's easy to forget about these, especially when they're really nice, you really like them, and you don't necessarily want to touch them, but you have them, so we're going to try to use them. So I pulled ones that would coordinate mostly, like Plum, Island Waters, the dark green as well. And then if I need gold or platinum or black, I can go and get those if I need. I've got my refill pages here, the pot. So you can see, right, I still got quite a bit of room even with all that. So I've got my sticker packs in here from Sun Soaked, from Paradise Found, Tropical Garden. I've got stickers left over from Vitamin C. So those Sun Soaked and Vitamin C are off to the side. They're there. I've got remnants. If I think I might be able to use them, I will go and get them and pull them and look to see if they will work, versus having them with my main collection that I'm trying to stick to. And then I got the matte packs in here as well, the embellishment packs. Right, so these will be all kind of handy as I'm working on things. Off to the side, I've pulled some of the craft photo corners, some tape chips. I got more tape chips somewhere else, but this will probably suffice for a while. There goes my ruler. It decided it didn't want to stay in there anymore, but you always need your ruler. I've got foam circles, foam squares, more one of the odd size embellishment packs for Paradise Found. I've got some brochure pockets and some peekaboo pockets. So the peekaboos I limited to my variety pack, right? The 3x4, 4x4, 4x3. The classic 4x6, 6x4. And then I did pull myself a pack of the Ain't It Great that has the 4x8s, 8x4s, and 8x8s, just in case I decide I want to do some more 8x8 stuff, which was highlighted a bit in the previous album that I had. And then I got the 6x12s as well. So I can have those handy as I need them and can pull them, right? Laser borders from different collections as well that coordinate either with tropical or seaside. I've even got the new custom cutting system border templates back here. I haven't done anything with them yet, but I have them here handy just in case I'm working on something and I think, you know what? I think that'll work really, 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 really well. So I'm going to try it. Right, so let's get our papers back in here. Okay. And so all I need to really do with this then is scuttle this off to the side. Again, that side space, right, you could use it to put the small pod with maybe your custom cutting templates and blades in there, and as you need them, you can pull them out. Whatever will fit in here, punches, borders, border maker punches, however you want to organize that would work too. And of course, this might not be an ideal situation for you. We work with what's going to work for us. So I'm going to scuttle this to the side. The other piece of organizing that I'm going to use with this album and highlight in the series a lot is the power sort box, which some of us are familiar with the power sort storage stuff. So this is a box. It will hold our 12 by 12 pages, layouts, and all those goodies. And I need something heavy to just kind of keep that open. Hang on. I'll make that one. There we go. Okay. So the power sort box will come with these white dividers. You get a pack of 15. You can purchase additional ones if you need. And the idea is basically to help you sort your pages and your materials that you're going to use to put together those layouts. The other option I know folks use are the Power Pocket folders. I don't have any. I don't use them particularly because I have different storage that I'm using. But I do typically use these plastic pocket folders, so you can see it's open on the one side. And I usually will have my designer paper collections in these. These are from Stamp and Storage. I like these a lot better because they open. It's not a sealed pocket that I have to do this with. But the pocket ones are very helpful as well. If you're going to crops or anything, you might want to consider pocket pages versus something big like this for space in your carrying case. But of course, the more you put into a pocket, the bigger it's going to be anyway. So you have to think about that also. I just don't do a lot of traveling to crops, at least not at this point. So I work with what I'm gonna use, what works for me. So so what I did, I pulled. Also, I'm one of those folks that will get a lot of memorabilia on the trips. I will grab 18 brochures, 20 business cards, and anything else I can get my squirrely little hands on, because this is what I like to use it for. I like to add it into the albums as much as possible. So what I did was I pulled all of my memorabilia, tossed it in here to start, and then so I knew where it was. And then when I started to think about some of the layouts, some of the things I want to start putting together to kick this off, I then went and started sorting it with pictures in between these dividers. So as you see here, this is what we'll be working on first. I've got that ready to go. Then I got my next pages that I've been planning out ready to go. Photos, right? I've got some memorabilia pieces, right? And then I got the next set of pages in there with the photos starting to be ready. Then I got more, right? The next page. So I'm already plotting out my album using this method. So I know what I'm going to be working on next. What is that flow that I'm working on in the album? And I've got all my stuff started to be sorted and ready so that when I get to it, and I can start thinking through layouts, right? Here's more pictures. I've already got my stuff right there. I don't have to go hunting for it, looking for it. It's all right in here, ready to go. So as I get more photos printed, I can toss them into where they go. Okay. So that's one use for this. I will typically, when I'm not using it for a project, I will typically use it to house completed pages for like my annual, year in the life of album. Though it's more like I put 3 years in an album. So I store them somewhere till I'm ready to start putting them in the album, and it's usually in this. So those are just some of those options. So what I like about this here, we can pull our first few pages, or our first page, and all the materials we have for it. Because now we're going to have the fun part of putting together the title page. And for the title page, I figured I would use the December 2025 Virtual Crop Sketch 1. So we've got that here, where we're going to have an 11 by 11 insert, a 6 by 11 and a half insert there, and our photos and these square embellishments, and a border element. The other piece that I decided I wanted to try to incorporate is really a technique that I think doesn't get a lot of attention, and that's tearing paper. And so what I've decided I wanted to do with this album, that would be another running motif throughout the whole album, will be to have teared paper elements throughout. So that'll be the other fun part. And there's, different, not that there's different ways to tear paper, but there's just techniques. There's also tools. Creative Memories has the Peaks and Valleys tearing tool. That became available this past Halloween. They had some more in stock that they made available. They have, I believe, since sold out. They're from 2024. So some other advisors might have some in their stash that you could get. So I'm actually going to use this one today. Some of the punches that I'm using in this layout as well. Cruise ship, which was part of a promo back in March. I was actually on the cruise when this promo came out, and was lucky to make sure I had Wi-Fi to make my order and snag it. So there we go, cruise ship. We have Monstera leaf and bamboo. So I've already pre-punched these elements just because I wanted to kind of focus a lot on the organizing part. So I already have these pre-punched. So I'm just going to put them to the side. I'm going to get this a little bit more centered here for everybody. For us here, I'm going to get some more space going. Here I've got some pumpkin cardstock. I've got some non-CM cardstock here that I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll add some leaves to the border, and I don't think I'm going to do that, so that will get put back away. Here's the meadow cardstock. This was another piece of cardstock I was playing with in bamboo that I decided wasn't going to work, so I then switched it to a different shimmer brown. It's not Creative Memories shimmer brown shimmer. It's a different company paper pack that had like metallic papers, so that's what you're seeing there. For the square embellishment element, this is where I used that cruise ship. I punched out the 1 3/4 squares using the square punch. And then I punched a strip of just bright white cruise ship and cut them into separate little sections. And then I wrote the destination that they represent, because we had 4 ports of call on the cruise, and it really worked out that you needed 4 squares in this layout. Bahamas isn't finished. We're going to finish that because there's another tool I'm going to highlight for you guys. But I went ahead and did Jamaica. I got Grand Cayman here with the coral punch. There's one more. Where did Mexico go? Maybe it's still in the box. That's kind of one of those, here we go, right? Here's one of those drawbacks to some of this might be the pocket would definitely have it in there. Whereas this things might shift a little bit. Okay, I don't know. I have it somewhere. I know it exists. I know I'll find it. We'll find it, don't worry. So instead of the photos in this layout, what I did was incorporate other pieces of memorabilia. So this is a sticker that they gave us. Our ship was the new Statendam, because we went on Holland America line. So I just made another embellishment with that. This is a picture of our cruise itinerary, where we went from Fort Lauderdale all around. So I'm going to use that instead of photos on this. I'm still looking for that Mexico embellishment. I know it's going to show up somewhere. So. And it's funny, I know I had it because I was dry fitting everything before. So I know it exists. I know it's somewhere. I just don't know where. All right, that's fine. I'm going to put these off to the side. Here's my monstera leaf and the bamboo. I've kind of woven them as a dry fit. So I'm trying to keep them together. So I did the monstera leaf in the meadow. And then, like I said, this bamboo is a non-CM metallic print. So put that to the side too. And so here here's my Spargo page. These are prints I picked from the Tropic Time paper pack. And off to the side, I do have a Cricut cut title that's going to go on there as well. Still looking for that. Still looking for Mexico. It'll come along. All right. So we can see I'm adding a little bit to the layout. You can see I did 2 sides. I pre-ripped. We're gonna rip the other 2. I've got some additional pieces here. We're gonna rip these. So the original layout does not add an extra strip, but I felt that it needed a little extra something. Not that that doesn't look nice, but I kind of wanted to add a little more something. So that's where I came into with these. So I cut a 1.5 inch strip, and for the other side I cut a 2 1/4, because I'm going to probably trim off that 1/4 inch in ripping. So I wanted to have enough to work with. And then this is I believe this is the 6. Yes, this is saying 6. I just didn't trim it to 11.5 because I'm thinking I might want it to go off the page here, since I'm not using a base page other than my Spargo. So I think I'm going to leave it at 6 by 12. So let's tear the other two sides. Yeah, no, I need that. I need to move this. There we go. Getting confused. Get my tearing tool. Still looking for Mexico. I know it exists. Gonna find it. All right. So what I started with, since we need an 11 by 11, I started off just by 1/2 inch, taking off a 1/2 inch on these two sides. So what I still need to do now is come in with a 1/2 inch here and here, so that way I've got that 11 by 11. Okay. So if you haven't used a tearing tool yet, I highly advise, because they're very handy. So yeah, okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna insert, because I want to tear this edge here, I'm going to insert it into this cutout in the middle so that my paper will be underneath the tool. Okay. I'm going to bring the edge of my paper to that mark on my cutting mat ruler, and then I'm going to bring this cutting tool back to that 1/2 inch mark. And I'm bringing it so that the curve here is just touching that 1/2 inch mark. And so then on the bottom here, kind of similar, I'm going to try to get that lined up as best as possible also. I don't want a crooked tear, which sounds ironic, right? But so it might just take a little, finessing of the tool, of the paper. Just don't rush, be patient. And when you think you've got it, right, you're going to lift up. I like to kind of give it a little bit of a run through underneath with my fingers here. And then I'm going to start pulling up and over. Right, so up and to the opposite side while I'm holding down the tearing tool. Oops, see, the tear torn off. And that's okay, because guess what? I might use that somewhere else in my album. It's okay. I'm gonna have all these torn pieces. And so here I'm left with a nicely torn edge. I can rotate this around again, so I can do this again to get my last tear. Right, so again, I'm pulling my paper through to that edge mark on my cutting mat. Getting that straight as I can there. Then I'm going to line up my hat to my 1/2 inch mark. It doesn't seem where I want it to be. Nope, nope. Okay. All right, I think that's about as good as I'm gonna get right now. So again, lift up and pull towards the opposite side. So on this way, I'm pulling up and towards the right. And there we go. I got my last torn edge. That's scrap that I can use somewhere else. Be nice. Okay. The other thing I thought would be really neat to help kind of pull the white off from the Spargo was to ink along the edges of some of the tearing so that it can get a little more differentiated on there. So this is the Northern Pine Memento Dewdrop ink that came out with the recent Black Friday Make It Merry bundle. And so I felt the green would match best because I got this green print. And I'm just kind of lightly going along the edges here, trying to hit some of that white tear. I know it's not going to be perfect. I'm not necessarily aiming for it to be perfect. But I feel like it's going to help pull it off the Spargo a bit more by doing this. So and I'm sure there might be another technique out there that might be really useful for this as well. But this is what I got to work with right now, so that's what I'm doing. Okay. I can put that to the side. Get my tearing tool again. I'm gonna get one of my strips. And it was easier doing it this way, so I'm gonna come in this way probably. Insert my paper. Bring my paper to that edge here on the mat. Okay. This might be a little tougher because I'm really going to be coming in at probably around the 1/4 inch mark. Or so to give myself some space. So I'll end up with a 1 1/4 inch strip roughly because of the tear. And so that's going to be a little tough. I'm going to get my multi-purpose tool just to kind of help lift up the paper a bit so I don't get a paper cut, because that would not be fun. And then again, I'm going to lift up and towards the right, or whatever opposite side you're working on. So if you've got the tool situated on the opposite way, you're going to pull and go to the left. I'm just going this way. I don't know if it's because I'm left-handed or what, but that's how I'm doing it. So I got that nice tear. I'm going to do the same thing with this piece. Now this was 2 1/4, so I'm wanting to kind of keep around a 2-inch type of size. So again, I'm going to be making a thinner tear. So I got to bring this tool over to that quarter mark. Again, I'm going to use my multi-purpose tool to kind of help give me a little bit of an edge to lift, so I don't cut myself with paper, because I cut myself with other stuff way too frequently all the time. All right. That one. Now, what I want to do, I think, is dry fit really quick, because I'm still on the fence about tearing that middle print. So I'm going to just kind of toss this on real quick. I'm just going to line it up somewhat here. And what I can even do, if I want to try and save some of that green print, right, is I can, I might tuck this under a little, get more of that green. I can come in with my trimmer, right, and so what I might do actually is swap this out. I might switch this over here, have less yellow there, have more yellow here, because I got that border to work in. Right, so what I can do is I could conserve some of this green print by coming in with my trimmer and cutting this section out, which is probably what I'm going to do just to conserve paper. And then it just means I have to construct things a little bit more than usual and line them up, but that's okay. So I'm kind of torn. Do I want to tear that or not? I'm thinking I might have enough torn paper to kind of help pull through some of that. So I think I'm going to hold off on tearing this middle piece for now. We'll come back to that. Maybe something will work out or look different later on. So like I had mentioned, let's cut this middle piece out. So let's kind of like figure out where we're going to want that placement of it. So and I'm just going to use an old school method here. I'm just going to use my pencil to mark where I'm going to make those cuts. Right. So it looks like here at 10.5 would be good. And then here at the 2-inch mark looks about good. So I'm gonna get my 12-inch trimmer. And I'm just gonna make 2 quick cuts. Now I could have figured this out before I had done all of that, right? And inked everything. I wasn't too sure I was gonna do it yet, so that's why I waited. And so now I have this whole section that I can use elsewhere. It's already pre-torn, so we'll see what happens with that later on as we walk through everything. All right, so that just means I have to do a little constructing or measuring or aligning of things a bit more, and that's okay. So let's get this. Oops, I'm losing all my pieces. Losing all my pieces. Okay. So I'm going to get my page here. I'm going to line it up. I'm lining up where the jeeping edge is to that 12-inch mark all around. And then I'm just going to get my adhesive on. Okay. So I remembered, right, it was at about 10 inches there. So here I'm going to get my ruler that comes across. So this is another new Creative Memories tool, the ruler that will fit our mats and really kind of help us with lining things up really, really well. So I know that I have to come down 1/2 inch. So this covers that. So it's roughly around here. And what I can do actually is I can shift that briefly, align my ruler here to that 1/2 inch mark, hold that steady, and then shift this back in place. Oops. So I knew I'm coming in at the 10.5 mark there. Okay. And I want that top to just hit that lightly there. So I'm going to bring this up to that 1/2 inch, 10.5 there. I'm going to get my other piece, adhesive. And I remember that was my 2-inch mark on this other side here. So I gotta glare a little bit on my end here, but okay. Just gonna get this a little bit more straighter. Followed by my yellow pieces. piece ready. And then I know I'm going to come out a little bit to the edge. Just going to lightly put that down in case I need to change that with my middle piece. Same with this side. Let's look here. Okay. So I actually want to bring, I think, this yellow piece a little bit out more. I want a little bit more yellow on my right side. Okay, I think that'll be good. So I'm gonna get that down. So now comes that decision, am I going to tear or not? And I think I'm gonna not. I think I like having that straight edge, break up the tearing a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this piece down. Because sometimes you can have too much of a good thing. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna lightly put it down. I'm gonna do my border next. As I make more of a mess of everything. Very messy. Okay. So let me put these aside because the title will be the last thing I do. But I didn't want to lose those pieces, so that's where they are. I'm gonna come back, get my border here. Now, I will say if you're trying to do this similarly and weave this, these were two that were a pain a little bit to weave, simply because of the spikiness of the bamboo pieces. It's just what it is. So, heads up there. But I've got that, so now I'm going to get my repo tape on it. And, you know, you could repo tape them together first as woven so that they won't really move on you. I like to live dangerously, so I didn't do that. Okay. So then this is going to go along that right edge. So that was the other reason I didn't tear it, because there wouldn't be any point necessarily, because you're not really going to see it with this border along the edge. So moving along. All right. I got these. I still can't find Mexico. I don't know where Mexico went. But I know it's somewhere. Anyway. So the other piece I wanted to show, the other tool that can be handy, is the anti-stick powder. And this is what we would typically use for stickers that we want to use as an embellishment, more so like we want to maybe pop it with a foam square or circle, and we don't want that sticky on the backing to really kind of become an issue. This powder tool, which is by Creative Memories, so everything Creative Memories has is photo safe, acid free, linguine free. It is safe to use, and so this powder tool is useful for this purpose. And so I'm going to actually put a sun with the Bahamas, and the sun that I'm picking is from the Welcome Gnome sticker pack. I was looking at all sorts of suns that I have, and I thought I just need a basic sun. So Welcome Gnome has that for me. So I'm just going to use that, and I'm just going to think about, I'm going to dry fit a little bit so that I can kind of see what I'm thinking of doing. Mexico would be down here. The Bahamas is going to go here. So I'm just thinking of sun placement. Do I want it here? I think I want it here. And I want it to be coming off of the circle. So that's where this is going to come in handy. As soon as I pick which way I want my sun to be going. Or how high I want that sun to go. I think I'm gonna, no, hang on. I'm gonna go this way. So I'm just gonna stick it there. Flip that over, use my powder tool. I'm not gonna use it on the silicone mat because I don't want the powder in the silicone. So I'm just gonna use it on a cutting mat surface. And all I gotta do is just dab. And it will just remove, it just covers that sticky part so that it's not sticky. So, kind of useful for these types of ideas. All right, so I wish I could find Mexico, because the placement is kind of where I'm at now. I don't know where Mexico went to. Really kind of surprised I haven't found it yet. But such is life. I know it's somewhere because I have it. So I will go digging for it in a bit. I will just use a placeholder for it. So, scrap paper that I was working with. There we go. Okay. So, I'm going to just be dry fitting really quick. Here's my title. So that might be nice to have a little overlap of the bamboo there to make room for Western here. Oop, nope, upside down C. There we go. Because then the Mexico square can go here. It can even overlap the border a little bit if I need it to. So I'm thinking this is what we're going to do. And I'm even thinking of popping up these squares with a foam to give them a little bit of extra dimension off the paper, just because there's some busy elements here. So I got some foam squares. Let me get some foam circles, just because I might need some tiny ones. All right. Well, here we go, right? Start adhering this all together. Can even bring this up a bit and over. Okay. Oh. Oh, I do have some small. Okay. That's good. First we'll see, is that enough dimension? Do I need to add any more to it? I think that'll be good enough. Okay. This one. I think I will go. I want a little overlap, but not a lot. Okay, that's good. Grand Cayman. I could bring Grand Cayman in a little bit more. I'm not sure if I want two of them overlapping it versus no. Ooh. I think I will do a little bit overlap here. Okay. Mexico is still missing. Rude. So let's do our title. Oops. I kind of want that I in the yellow so it doesn't get lost. So that's that. Oops, which way does this W go? Nope. Okay. And then for the dot on the I, I'm going to use the precision glue pen. Let me get this going a bit. I'm just going to put a blob there and then place my I, the dot. Okay, just press down everything, get that adhesive on. And I even have this little extra embellishment that I made. So I don't know if I'm going to use it somewhere or not. I'll think about it, I'm not sure. But here we go. We did our title page. And following that virtual crop sketch 1. Minus Mexico. I still don't know where Mexico went to. I'll have to find it. It's somewhere. I do know that. Because I had it. But regardless, Mexico would go here. So I think overall we have a really great kickoff to a really interesting album ahead of us. So thanks for joining. In the next one, I'm going to be using Virtual Sketch 2 from December of 2025. And it's going to be a double page spread, so this will get mirrored as well. So definitely tune in if you enjoyed this time. Definitely stick with it, tune in, and we'll see where we end up going with this entire project. So it's great to have you along for the journey. Thanks for watching. If you need anything, feel free to reach out to your advisor, to me. If you need anything supply-wise, you can use the link in my in the description for the video. And by all means, feel free to subscribe to the channel and follow me on Facebook. So thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Happy scrapping!